Yun, sorry, nakamute pa pala ako. Anyway, good morning po teachers and magandang araw po sa ating lahat, no? And welcome to the third installment of our October series, Calibrating and Recalibrating Ongoing Distance Learning. Okay, so I'll be on the backstage actually. No? I'll just do a short introduction of what we're going to do today. So basically, um, ang purpose po talaga, no, ang isa sa mga reasons bakit namin ginawa 'to, of course, kasi naman yung talagang October series natin is all about managing and supporting distance learning. Okay, so ngayon ang gusto nating malaman or gawin is how do we measure, no? How do we measure success, okay? So far, no, of distance learning or the ongoing distance learning. So what questions do we ask? Okay, what approaches do we we use, no, or what tools can we utilize in order to determine exactly if we are on the right track in terms of determining the success or so far the effectiveness of our distance learning. Kasi maganda, importante po yan, no? Kasi syempre hindi naman tayo nakapag-prepare lahat, no, sa for this year. So much of the things that we did or are doing right now are mostly experimental in nature. Okay, so yun ang gusto natin gawin, no, yung maitama at maiwasto kung meron at maipagpatuloy, okay, kung kailangan yung mga bagay na ginagawa natin for distance learning. At yun yung gagawin natin ngayon, okay? And again, this session, no, will be coming from experiences. Okay, so our speaker for today and the guest speakers for today will be sharing coming from their own experiences. Okay, so from the ground po tayo. Okay, so hindi tayo basta-basta lang mga theoretical or theories yung ating pag-uusapan para sa araw na ito. Okay, pero bago tayo mag-start siguro, I'll give some reminders before I introduce to you our moderator for today. And he will be the one, no, to introduce the guest speakers as well for today. So some reminders for our viewers, no? Okay. Some webinar reminders. Lagi naman ito binibigay, no? Pero just to reiterate and to remind everyone, okay? So some webinar reminders, okay, evaluation link will be given at the end of the training. Okay, so lagi po natin tinatanong yan, no, yung tungkol sa evaluation link. Okay, so meron po tayong evaluation link that will be also used to generate and distribute your certificates. And after answering the evaluation, by the way po, no, may konting quiz, no, some questions lang naman, okay, based on whatever discussion we will have today. And your certificates will be sent to you via email in 5 to 7 days. Okay, so paki-check na lang po sa page natin. We usually announce naman if we have released your certificates. Okay, so please take note na lang, no, 5 to 7 days. Okay, give us that much time. Okay, and again, it's sent to you via your email. Okay, so I think I can start now by introducing actually our speaker for today and our guest speaker for today and moderator does not need much introduction kasi isa po siya sa mga admins natin sa Kaagapay Teacher Support, no. So yan. Okay, so what we will have today, Sir Jambi, no, Joseph Angelo M. Santos, para lang alam niyo na po yung full name niya para next sa next quiz natin. Okay. But anyway, mas kilala po natin siya bilang Sir Jambi, no. So he will be the speaker and moderator for today. And with him, no, would be some guest speakers as well who would be sharing their experiences so far on the ongoing distance learning. Okay, and he will be the one, Sir Jambi will be the one to introduce them to us. Okay, so let's all welcome Sir Jambi.
Hello, good morning po. Magandang umaga sa inyo mga dear teachers. I'm happy to have been given the chance again to speak to you, to all of you. Ayan, kasi madalas si Sir Franco ang nakakasama ninyo. So at least for this morning, makakasama niyo po ako. Ayan, sabi nga ni Sir Franco, my full name is Joseph Angelo M. Santos. Naalala ko, Sir Franco, nung nakaraang natin, Catch Up Mondays. Marami ang hindi nakatanda nung aking totoong pangalan. They remember me as Jambi, pero yan. para po sa
Baliw din
susunod
siguro
team
siyempre
natin.
sila kasi 'di ba parehas kayo ng ano ni Sir Angelo, eh, may Angelo rin
Ayun,
kasi si Angelo.
correct,
So mas baka na-associate nila si Angelo kay Sir Angelo ano. Anyway,
correct,
so
correct.
yun, go ahead, Sir Jampi and, I'll give the floor to you now and, to start with 'no, with our session for today. Okay, good luck and,
Ayan, thank
teachers,
you.
let's go through, 'no, and, please if you have questions, I'll be in the chat box. I'll be interacting with you via the chat box.
Yes. Maraming salamat, Sir Franco. Ayan, may I share my screen, please? There you go. So muli magandang umaga po sa aming pinakamamahal na mga kaguro, mga pinakamamahal na kaagapay. Welcome to the October series. Lalong-lalo na po sa first timers pa lang, yung mga siguro hindi nakasama doon sa previous webinars na part ng October series which focused on managing distance learning, ensuring sustainability and effectiveness. Ayan. Pero wag po kayong mag-alala kung today pa lang kayo sumali because all of these webinars are recorded anyway. Nakasave po sila sa Facebook page ng Kaagapay Teacher Support. So if you are not part of that page yet, please do follow, like, and share nyo rin po. Siguro that's one thing that we can do for our co-teachers, our colleagues. In fact, I know of non-teachers who claim that they benefit from what we all share doon sa Kaagapay Teacher Support. So, for today, I have been tasked to focus on this particular topic, yung calibrating and recalibrating ongoing distance learning. Okay, so to give you an overview of what this morning will be like, uh, I will more or less prepare or lay down the foundation for our discussion this morning. I will talk about or I will dissect our topic word per word. And then I have invited two very good friends of mine. They will be sharing with you their ideas, maybe even experiences based on their unique contexts. Unfortunately, and as expected, we will not be able to cover all of the various contexts that we are in. Kaya po mga kaagapay, kailangan na kailangan namin yung inyong participation. Ayan, wag po kayong mahiya na mag-share using our comment section. And during the times that we open the show for questions, wag po kayong mahiya para mapagtulungan po natin na sagutin ang mga tanong ng bawat isa. Okay? So, let's start with calibrate. Ayan. Ano ba talaga yung calibrate? Dagdag na rin natin yung recalibrate. Okay? So, dictionary meaning of calibrate is to adjust. Okay? Your adjustments may be minor, maliit na maliit lang. It can be major. Okay? And I'd like to introduce this concept to you. Sana after this session matandaan nyo rin na calibrating also involves ensuring that the things that work continue to work. Okay? So, hindi kailangan palaging may babaguhin ka. So, once you realize na, oh, this system works, now you make sure, now you implore systems para yung nag-work na yun na bagay ay mag-continue na mag-work. Okay? So, calibrate means to adjust, pero hindi lang basta adjust kasi trip mo lang. Okay? Hindi lang basta adjust, tapos kanya-kanya kayo ng adjustments, kanya-kanya kayo ng directions. Perhaps the more important part of the definition of to calibrate is to calibrate against a standard. So pag sinabi natin against a standard, Nandyan yung pinrovide ng Department of Education na MELC. Nandyan din yung sariling aims and objectives ng kani-kanilang provinces, cities, municipalities, towns, um, pati ng school ninyo, and even your personal standards. Okay? So, it's difficult, it's challenging really, pero once you are able to put all those standards together, then and then you can adjust to them. Okay? Mahirap kasi yung mag-a-adjust ka ng walang direksyon. Hindi mo naman alam kung ano yung gusto mong mangyari, yung ine-expect mo na mangyari. So that has to be clear with you first before you even attempt adjusting. Now, ano naman yung recalibrate? Okay? Siguro lahat naman tayo alam yung prefix na re, which means again. Yan, adjust again. Pero I'd like to introduce to you another way of looking at recalibrate. Okay? Kasi once you calibrate, tapos hindi pa rin nag-work or kulang pa rin and you feel it still needs improvement and then you recalibrate, tapos kulang pa rin and then you recalibrate again and then kulang pa rin, teka, parang may mali ka ng ginagawa. Perhaps you may want to adjust differently. Okay? So, hindi ka lang basta usog ng usog to the same direction. Okay? Tandaan natin, recalibrating can also mean recalibrating or adjusting differently. Perhaps mali yung proseso, mali yung direction, mali yung pinapagawa mo sa kanila. Okay? 'Di ba may natatandaan ako na saying, baka magkamali ako so hindi ko na lang babanggitin kung kanino ko siya nako-connect na person. Pero sabi nila, insanity daw is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same results or expecting different results. So, tandaan natin, recalibrating can also mean adjusting differently. Okay? So, enough for calibrate and recalibrate. By the way, gusto ko lang pong sana maisip natin or magkaroon tayo ng positive outlook towards calibration and recalibration. In fact, change. Okay? Huwag po tayong mahiya kapag yung ginawa natin na lesson or na module or na program ay nangangailangan ng calibration. Okay? Hindi po kayo nagkulang. Okay? Hindi ka nagkulang sa preparation at iniisip mo na, I should have done it perfect the first time. Ayan. Very, very ideal po yan. Almost impossible. Tandaan po ninyo, kasama sa proseso yung change, yung small adjustments. Okay? Next. Ayan, time out. Natawa tuloy ako. Konektado po ito doon sa adjusting differently. I'd like to share with you a personal experience. Ito po kasing panahon ng working from home. Isa sa mga naging early problems ko, early concerns ko ay nakakalimutan kong mag-log out. Nakakalimutan kong mag-time out. Okay? I don't forget to time in sa umaga, pero yung time out sa hapon, nakakalimutan ko. So what I did was, sige, I'll set an alarm. Okay. The following week, nakalimutan ko na naman. Okay? So nilakasan ko yung alarm ko. And then the following Thursday, parang pinagtatawanan na nga ako nung secretary namin. On the same day, I still forgot to log out. Okay? So it got me into thinking, teka, baka hindi naman pala kasi yung alarm yung problema. It's not that I wasn't being reminded, di ba? It's not that I do not hear the alarm, pero there's something in me that hears the alarm and ignores it. Okay? So binago ko ngayon yung nag-calibrate ako, nag-recalibrate ako differently. Of course, iba-iba tayo ng proseso. I resorted to writing things down. Ayan, medyo may pagka-OC kasi ako. So, dahil I wrote it down, hindi naman ako makakatulog ngayon nang hindi ko siya na-check or hindi ko siya nasusulatan. And so far, awa ng Diyos, nakakapag-log out naman na ako every Thursday. So, yun ang isang example siguro ng recalibrate, adjusting differently. Alamin mo kung ano ba talaga yung problema. Alamin mo kung ano ba talaga yung dapat baguhin. Baka mamaya bago ka ng bago ng isang bagay when hindi naman yan yung dapat na binabago. Okay? Salamat. Moving on. Ayan. So tapos na tayo sa calibrate and recalibrate. Now, we focus on the term ongoing. Okay? I'm sure everyone knows what ongoing means, but I'd like to offer you certain terms that might help all of us put this webinar into context. Ayan. Underway. Yan yung alam nating lahat. When something is ongoing, it's underway. Tulad na lamang ng ating distance learning ngayon. But one can also look at it in this light. When we say ongoing, developing. Okay? Nag-grow pa. So tulad nga ng sinasabi ko kanina, huwag tayong mahiya na mag-calibrate. Huwag tayong mahiya na magbago. Even if your co-teachers, even if your students realize, oops, binago ni ma'am yung module niya. Nung first module niya, he or she has always misspelled this word. Ngayon, binago na niya. Huwag po kayong mahiya. Okay? Your students will sana be grateful for the thought that it's okay to commit mistakes and you have countless opportunities to correct them. And there's nothing wrong about that. Okay? So developing, something ongoing is something developing. Parang bata lang po 'yan, 'di ba? You do not raise a child perfectly from day zero until he or she becomes an adult. Okay? It's a matter of continuous calibrating and recalibrating. Now, sa pag-raise naman natin ng mga anak natin, hindi naman tayo nahihiya when we calibrate things, when we do certain adjustments. So pati sa pag-raise natin ng ating mga students, huwag tayong mahiya. Okay? Part yan ng growth. Part yan ng development. And in fact, I'd like to offer you naman the opposite of the term ongoing. Finished. Okay? This is the term that we are all familiar with. But mind you, it can also mean abandoned. Ayan. Again, in the objective, given the aim that I want you to change your negative concept about change, about calibration, gusto ko maisip ninyo na perhaps if I insist on not changing, if I insist on not calibrating, kasi no, perfect na yung program ko, perfect na yung lesson ko, or no, sila yung mali. They just don't see what I'm seeing. Or no, if I change this, baka isipin ng mga estudyante ko na or yung reputation ko will be tainted. No, don't think about that. Ang isipin ninyo, if you do not make the necessary changes, it's as if you are abandoning your students. Okay? Hinayaan nyo silang mapunta sa maling direksyon, even though deep in your heart, alam mo na kailangan may baguhin. Okay? So, wag po tayong mahiya as teachers to have to calibrate and recalibrate. Now, since I am a communication teacher, and na-share po sa inyo yan ni Sir Franco in one of the catch-up Mondays ata, uh, I would always like to focus on things, concepts that are communication related. So for example, I'd like to continue discussing yung calibrating and recalibrating ongoing distance learning with the 5 W's and the 1 H. Ayan, lahat po tayo familiar, di ba? May who, what, when, where, why, how. Let's start with who. Sino ba yung kailangan mag-calibrate? Okay? Sino yung kailangang mag-recalibrate? Me. Diba? You ask yourself, sino ba yung dapat magbago? Dapat ba magbago yung school? Dapat ba magbago yung mga estudyante ko? Yung mga parents kasi yung mali eh. Sila yung hindi sumusunod. Perhaps, diba? Perhaps they also need to calibrate and recalibrate, but those people are beyond your control. Diba? The only person that you can control and the only person that you ought to reflect on calibrating and recalibrating is yourself. Diba? It's hindi productive yung mag-complain tayo, isisi natin sa iba. Okay? Yes, lahat naman ng ibang stakeholders kailangan mag-calibrate and recalibrate. Pero dahil nasa kaagapay tayo, teacher level, okay? Kung maghahanap ka kung sinong pwede mong baguhin, start with yourself. Okay? In fact, I'd like to share with you a very beautiful or snippets from a very beautiful prayer that we use in the school that I am connected with. Ayan. Okay. So, sabi doon sa prayer namin, I start the change I long to see. Diba? Pag may gusto tayong makita na change, okay, you want your students to change, so what can you change about yourself? What can you change about the processes that you do? What can you change about your lesson so that the change that you want to see in your students will manifest? Okay? Kasi ikaw lang, ikaw tanging sa sarili mo lang, ikaw may kapangyarihan. Diba? Let's face it. So, I start the change I long to see. Next, after who, ang tanong naman natin, what? Diba? What can I change? The answer, what you can. Okay? Wag nating maliitin yung mga bagay na kayang baguhin ng teacher. Okay? Oftentimes, we surrender kasi kahit naman anong baguhin ko dyan, it will not make an impact. It will not affect others. Naku, huwag niyo pong isipin yun. Okay? Imagine if, for example, Sir Franco, imagine if Sir Franco had thought 4 months back na, hindi na, wag na ako magbuo ng kaagapay. Wala naman akong mababago. Pero everyone, all of you here present, can attest na, no sir, you have in fact changed lives. Marami kayong nababago. Okay? So to continue quoting from the prayer, it continues with, even if I'm not the light, I can be the spark. Okay? Hindi natin kailangan baguhin yung buong sistema. Okay? No, hindi mo na siguro mababago yung MELC. No, hindi mo na mababago kung ano man yung mga systems put to place ng school ninyo. But the things that you have control over, okay? What you place in your module, for example, anong klaseng activities and questions ang tinatanong mo sa mga estudyante, if you want them to become creative and collaborative, those are within your reach. Yun ay mga kaya mong baguhin. So, you don't need to be the light. Okay? You don't need to be the fire that burns for everyone else. Kailangan mo lang maging spark. Okay? Just start that change. Lahat ng nakapag-start na ng fire knows that all you need is one spark. Okay? And it will continue to burn bright. Okay? Next, when? Now. Yan. Alam ko, when I pass through who, what, na-foresee nyo na pagdating ng when, sasabihin niya now. Okay? And perhaps, alam nyo na rin, deep inside you na, kailan ba ako kailangan magbago ng sistema? Now na. Di ba? Yes, there's a time for everything. Okay? Baka better pag if I do it after the second trimester or the first grading. Tama naman yun. Okay? Time it properly, but the preparation for that change, start now. Okay? Wag na natin antayan na, sige, let's finish first the first term before I evaluate my lessons. Hindi. Okay? Habang ginagawa mo, the first week that you distributed it to your students, and as soon as you receive tidbits of feedback from all over, pwede ka nang mag-start ng planning mo for your calibration and your recalibration. Okay? Let's not delay things. Okay? Alam ko bilang teachers, hate natin yung mga students, or when students rather, procrastinate. Diba? We always tell them, don't procrastinate and so on and so forth. So tayo rin dapat. Okay? We should be models of whatever we say. Okay? To continue quoting from the prayer, actually before nung I start the change I long to see, it says, today. Today I start the change I long to see. Even if I'm not the light, I can be the spark. So, there really is no best time to start than now. Okay? So habang nanonood kayo sa amin ngayon, habang nakikipag-interact kayo with our fellow kaagapay sa chat box, pwede nyo nang umpisahan, pag-isipan na ninyo, how can I calibrate my lesson? How can I improve it? At gaya nga nung sinabi ko kanina, calibrating also involves making sure that the things that work continue to work. Okay? Putting systems into place para yung okay na, hindi siya mababago. Okay? Next, where? Ayan. Sir, paano ako, I need to go back to the classroom. Yeah. Sir, gusto kong magkaroon ulit ng ng physical social interaction with my students. Huwag na po nating antayin yung next school year. Very ideal pa yun. Okay? Where can you start? Yan, kung saan kayo nakaupo ngayon, mag-start na kayo. Okay? Is it possible? I promise you it is possible. And this is proof. This was posted by the Kaagapay page yesterday. Sabi, 4 months old. Ayan, para matandaan ulit ng mga sasali sa next na contest. 4 months old, 20 webinars conducted. Marami sa inyo have attended all those 20. Maraming salamat. 60,000 certificates delivered, 90 hours of training, 57,000 followers, 54,000 likes. Saan yan ginagawa ni Sir Franco? Saan namin ginagawa yan habang tinutulungan namin si Sir Franco? From our homes. Okay? Kung may chance lang kayo na makita ninyo, mag-zoom out kung nasan ba talaga si Sir Franco nakaupo. Literal na nasa garahe lang po talaga si Sir Franco. Okay? At kailangan niya yung blue curtain niya sa likod kasi every now and then dumadaan yung mga pamangkin ko, naglalaro sila. But that did not stop him from reaching out to all of you to the 57,000 teachers who would benefit from the things that he can do. So where do you start? Wherever you are now po. Hindi ko naman po sinasabi na magbuo rin kayo ng ng sarili ninyong page, although why not? Okay? Pero I would also like to think that doon sa 90 hours of training, okay, marami nang naituro, marami nang naitulong sa atin, myself, si Sir Angelo, si Sir Franco, and the many guests that we have invited. Marami nang naiturong tools sa atin para we can do things from wherever we are. Okay? I trust that teachers are very, very resourceful, very, very flexible. So let's try our best from where you are. Okay? Next. Now, why? Why should we calibrate? Why should we recalibrate even? Okay? And this is an addition to what I shared with you earlier, yung developing, and the opposite is abandoned. Okay? Kasi tandaan natin, Gary Halbert says, success is a process, not an event. Okay? I'm sure even you teachers would attest that you perhaps learn more, perhaps remember more because of the process. Okay? Meaning, nagkamali ka, and then you made the necessary adjustments. Mas matatandaan mo yun than when you got it right the first time. Okay? At least now you understand. Now you understand the aspects that were involved in that process. So, mas naiintindihan mo, mas matatandaan mo ngayon, mas matututo ka. Okay? So, to continue, ayan, tapos na tayo doon sa babalikan ko po yung yung 5 W's and 1 H mamaya kasi baka singilin niyo ako, nasaan na yung 1 H? Okay? But to continue talking about why, I'd like to focus on this naman. Again, I would always like to focus on or use yung mga models ng communication whenever I talk. So, this is a model of communication. Very simplistic, definitely, pero kailangan natin ng clear, maliwanag na diagram. So, you have a sender, okay, who has a message. Okay? So, gagawin ni sender, he will encode that message. Okay? Pag sinabi nating encode, ano yung attempt ni sender to send that message, to code that message? Is it in the form of yung mga strategies niya? Gagamit ba siya ng module? Gagamit ba siya ng certain application, etc. And then, he will use a channel, okay, a medium, to be able to send it to the receiver. Okay? Pero tatandaan natin, the receiver, hindi porke ito ang sinend mo, ito ang intention mo, ito ang gusto mong maisip niya, it is not always the case na yun yung maiisip ng receiver. Okay? Iba-iba ang mga receivers, iba-iba ang kanilang levels of understanding, iba-iba ang kanilang experiences. So, expect that they will receive your message differently. Iba-iba ang pagtanggap nila. So, alam ninyo to, and if you've often wondered why, bakit may isa akong student, gets na yung pagtuturo ko? It's probably because nag-overlap yung inyong experience, nag-overlap yung inyong level. Okay? Now, how come the others do not get the lesson? Perhaps it's because you are not encoding it in the way that they understand. Okay? Now, so meron na tayo ng linear. Pero tatandaan natin, palaging may feedback at saka may noise. Okay? Noise is basically anything, not necessarily physical sound, that affects the communication process. Okay? More often than not, it's a negative effect. Feedback naman is whatever is received by the sender. It can be verbal, it can be non-verbal. Okay? Now, gusto kong ilagay natin itong konteksto ng model of communication, the communication process sa ating mga guro. So the sender would of course be the teacher. Your message is now your lesson. Iba-iba tayo ng channels, di ba? Marami sa atin online learning. May marami rin sa atin ang nagmo-modular modality. Okay? May iba naman hybrid. Okay. And then the receivers would be the students. Now, let us please remember that our receivers do not only include the students. Meron din tayong tinatawag na all other unintended audience. Ang lesson ba natin ay hindi nakikita ng magulang? Nakikita nila yan. Ang lesson ba natin ay hindi nakikita ng ibang mga kapatid, for example, older brother, younger sister, nakikita nila yan. And because of social media, unlimited na yung reach ng nakakakita ng ating mga lessons. So, while your focus should still be kung paano matututo yung mga estudyante, it wouldn't hurt if you put into consideration na yes, makikita rin ito ng iba pang unintended audience. Other people na hindi ko estudyante, pero makikita nila just the same, so you have to prepare for those as well. Okay? Now, feedback. Feedback can be the form of what they say. Okay? Yan, madali yan. Pagka sinabi sa'yo ng estudyante, Miss, hindi ko maintindihan. Okay? Or when the modules are submitted to you, may note doon, sinabi, hindi ko po alam itong lesson na to, and so on and so forth. But feedback can also, we can also interpret feedback in the things that they do not say. Okay? Tandaan natin, nandyan yung non-verbal, nandyan din yung they choose to respond to some things but choose to not respond to some things. Okay? That's also one thing you can consider. Bakit kaya dito very active yung student, pero dito hindi? Okay? Then that may be a point for calibration, recalibration. And also, how they say it. Okay? Mag-focus din tayo doon. And finally, when we say noise, it's not always negative. Okay? Perhaps it would be more productive for us if we see noise as something that can provide us valuable feedback. Siyempre nakaka-upset, di ba? Nakakalungkot whenever there is noise. And again, when I say noise, I don't just mean yung aso o yung manok o yung dumadaan na truck ng basura. Hindi lang yun. Okay? But all the things that try to affect the learning process. Perfect example, yung kaliwat kanang paglabas ng mga so-called module pages sa social media. Tapos may mag-comment na tao, mag-share, etc. That's noise. Pero, after you get upset, which is of course a normal human behavior, perhaps you can use it as feedback and try to improve yourself. Okay? Again, Hindi mo naman ma-improve yung ibang tao eh, but improve yourself. Diba? Nakita mo, uy, ganun yung sinasabi doon sa module na yun. Teka, why don't I look at my module again? Okay? Baka may pwede akong ma-improve. Okay? So, gamitin natin yung noise as a valuable feedback. Okay? Ayan. I'd like to share with you also a different context. Siguro hindi naman nalingid sa kaalaman ng mga kaagapay natin na I love to sing. There have been times na kumanta ako sa mga webinars, pero for this particular sharing, gusto kong mag-focus sa why I miss yung performing live in front of people. Kasi nakikita ko yung feedback. Okay? Nakikita ko kung may natutulog. Nakikita ko kung may hindi nakikinig. Nakikita ko kung merong titig na titig talaga sa akin at parang naaalala niya yung first love niya, etc. So, those things, those feedback help me calibrate and recalibrate my performance. Pati yung noise. Diba? Kapag, for example, napansin ko, hindi ko naririnig yung sarili ko sa monitor. Then I have to calibrate. Then I have to recalibrate. Pag nakikita ko na, bumukas yung pintuan sa likod. Baka ma-distract yung audience ko. Then I have to do something para makuha ko ulit yung attention nila. So, katulad na lamang sa pagtuturo, katulad na lamang sa ginagawa nating distance learning ngayon, ganun din sa pagpa-perform. Kailangan din natin mag-calibrate and mag-recalibrate. And there's really nothing wrong with that. Okay? It's part of the beauty of performance. It's part of the beauty of live singing. Sir, paano pagka ganito, pagka online setup? So, nakasalalay ako sa comments. Di ba? So, the next time you see a performer, huwag po kayo mahiya. Give them feedback. Di ba? Kasi kailangan nila yan. You want an improved performance, bigyan nyo sila ng feedback. Hindi man agad-agad, pero maybe in the next time that he sings, magagamit niya yung feedback na yan. Okay? Okay. Sample daw. Ayan. Huwag kayong mag-alala. Hindi ko naman kayo paaasahin. Ayan. So, bahagi din ng aking webinar, ayan, para makasabay ako kay Sir Franco. Aalayan ko naman kayo ng isang awitin, but the song that I chose has something to do, of course, with the concept of change. Yun nga, because I want you to have, after this session especially, a very positive outlook on change. It's not bad. It's even necessary. You're even being very compassionate if you're calibrating and recalibrating your lesson. Okay? And saan tayo mag-uumpisa? Sa sarili natin. Okay? So, yan. Sana makatuwaan niyo po yung aking awitin. Ayan. And don't forget feedback. Para sa inyong lahat. Gonna make a change for once in my life. Gonna feel real good, gonna make a difference, gonna make it right. As I turn up the collar on my favorite winter coat, This wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the streets with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their needs? Some must disregard a broken bottle top and a one-man soul. They follow each other on the wind, you know, 'cause they got nowhere to go. That's why I want you to know I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. No message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. I've been a victim of a selfish kind of love. It's time that I realize there are some who don't, not left alone. Could it be really me pretending that they're not alone? A willow deeply scarred, somebody's broken heart, and a washed out dream. They follow the pattern of the wind, you see, 'cause they got no place to be. That's why I'm starting with me. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. No message would have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. I'm asking him to change his ways. No message would have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. You gotta get it right while you got time, so you can close your up, you can close your mind. I'm asking him to change his ways. No message would have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change. Ooh. Ayan, maraming maraming salamat po. Ayan, very good ang mga teachers, ha. Ano, pag sinabing, oh, magbigay ng feedback, nagfi-feedback naman. So, yun nga. Let us always attempt to look at feedback and noise even to help us calibrate and recalibrate our performance, our lesson, our teaching delivery. Kasi nga po, to not calibrate, to not do necessary adjustments is, it's as if you are abandoning your students. Okay? Now, Chair, hindi ka pa rin nag-how. Oo. Kasi for how, I have invited my friends, very dear friends, to share with you their unique contexts kung paano nila ina-apply yung calibration, recalibration, their ideas about it. Kasi we're all in this together naman. Diba? Sama-sama tayong nangangailangan ng calibration, recalibration. And kung napapansin ninyo yung third bullet doon, it says you. So, kasama po kayo sa discussion. Wag po kayong maghiya na magtanong, wag kayong mahiya na mag-share ng calibration and recalibration experiences ninyo sa comment section. Or kung sakali man na matapos na itong webinar na ito, gamitin natin yung kaagapay page. Alam niyo po yung kaagapay is not just for me, Sir Angelo, or Sir Franco to give you information kung kailan ang susunod na webinar. It's also for you to um, coordinate not just with us but also with our fellow teachers. Magtulungan tayo. Okay? Kaya palaging ang call namin ay tayo ay magkakaagapay. We do not walk ahead and tell you this is how it's supposed to be done, but we walk with you. Kung meron kaming naiisip, we share with you. Kung meron kaming nalaman na bago, we share with you. And sana ganun din kayo. Ganun din kayo, especially with our fellow kaagapay. Okay? I'd like to end with a continuation of the prayer. This is really how that prayer ends. And sana matandaan nyo po itong prayer na ito. Sana po we live by this prayer as we attempt to adjust again, adjust differently our lessons. Ang nasa mindset natin, yung mga estudyante natin, they become better citizens. Di bali na yung noise. Let's use the noise as valuable feedback. This is the remainder of that prayer. Let us start the change we want to see. The change that begins in me. Okay? We can always attempt to change others, but if we do not start with ourselves, mahirap and it would be futile. Okay? Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat, and tulad ng binanggit ko kanina, it is my honor, I'm very thankful to them to introduce to you my dear friends. So, ang una ko pong ipapakilala ay, pareho ko naman po silang colleagues sa school na pinagtatrabahuhan ko. But this particular friend of mine will be sharing with you her experience in the context of technology. Ayan. So, para po doon sa mga nag-online learning or kahit naman offline ka, kahit modular kayo, the mere fact that you are with us now, you are still somehow connected to the online world. So, palakpakan po natin my colleague from LaSalle Green Hills. She is presently the educational technology coordinator, Miss Jem Astronomo.
Hi, sir. Good
Hi,
morning.
good morning, Miss Jem.
Hello. Yan, good morning. I hope everybody can hear me well. Magandang
Yes, we
umaga po
hear you,
sa
Miss.
atin. Ayan. So, sir, pwede ko na i-share yung presentation?
Sure, go ahead, Miss Jem.
Okay po. Yan. So, good morning, everyone. So, I've listened very intently with Mr. Jambi's sharing, and sana mabigyan din ako ng chance kumanta soon, ano, Sir Jambi. Pero yan, plug ko lang yan. So, but I'm not gifted with singing, no? So, pero I want to sing, yan. Yun pala yung sharing ko wala, just gusto ko lang i-share sa inyo lahat, no? So, I can't read comments right now kasi naka-open yung presentation ko. Though later on I would try to open the comment section. So, good morning everyone. Sana po you are all well, and thank you for joining us today. And of course, congratulations to Sir Franco, Sir Jambi, and Sir Angelo for as always doing a good job in the Kaagapay, no, page. Yan. So, sabi ni Sir Jambi, kami daw ni Sir yung kasama naming isa later on ang makakapag-explain dun sa how, no, on the calibration. I agree with everything that he mentioned about the calibration, no. So, let me take off from there that calibration is not something that we can do on our own only, but it has something to do with peer. I guess one major characteristics of doing a calibration, most especially in the education setting, it's not done by a mere person only, by one perspective only. It has to be peer reviewed by people who the same goals and standards as you. So kung tayo teachers, pare-pareho tayo ng teachers, ang pag-recalibrate natin will be thinking as teachers, no? So, kagaya din nung example ni Sir Jambi kanina, if you are thinking like as a parent, for example, iba rin yung maiisip nila na point of view, no? So, but best that we always keep to ourselves, or I mean, remind ourselves that whenever we do calibration, it's always for the betterment or for the good of our students. Kasi yung end goal natin for our education is to, always set the standards na makukuha nila, magagawa nila, matatapos nila, maiintindihan nila para makatulong sa kanila magpatuloy ang buhay, no? Kaya naman na talaga gusto natin na makapag-aral sila kasi gusto natin sila mabigyan ng magandang kinabukasan. So, just to give you a background of my work in Lasal Green Hills, I am the educational technology coordinator. It's the first year that we are having that position again, no? Again, ulit. So meron kami before, ngayon. Ako yung na ako yung na ilagay doon ngayon. I've been a computer teacher for 15 years in the classroom, and then the computer coordinator for 5 years before ako nag-educational technology coordinator. So ano yung mga na-experience ko based doon sa calibration, ano. So I'll start off with when I was still a teacher, no, how I deal with it, no. So nung nasa classroom ako, kasi face to face, ang pinaka main data driving force ko is I have a subject evaluation after year end siya. So, ano yung mga tinatanong ko sa kanila? I don't ask my students kung magaling ako magturo. I ask them kung nagustuhan nila yung mga itinuro ko at kung paano ko ituro. Because those are three different aspects, no? So, meron kasing gusto kanila kasi they have a certain relationship with you. Merong mga friendly teachers, merong mga not so friendly teachers. But whether you have that personal relationship or not, iba yung aspect ng itinuro mo, iba rin yung aspect kung paano mo itinuro. So whenever I ask them for data that I need, I always give a reason kung bakit ganun lang yung itatanong ko, no? So we have to reason out with our students. So, Miss, paano mo naman itatanong? Sorry, I like to call myself and role play as a student, talking to myself as a teacher, and we always refer to ourselves as Miss, no? So, Miss, paano naman kapag kids yung tinuturuan, like super young kids? The youngest kids that na-handle ko are kinder, grade 1 and grade 2, no? So sila yung youngest. So I just prepare this parang mga 5-item questionnaire with a happy and sad face, no? So and then I ask them very simple things lang, like did they like this particular activity? And then I don't ask them na why. The frequency of the responses should also help me lead to at least a better understanding, no? Bakit nila nagustuhan or hindi. But that of course is in the context of face to face. So yun yung mga ginagawa ko nung teacher ako sa face to face. Now, how can we do that now that we are on online learning, distance learning, online learning? So sa distance learning, marami sa atin ang online learning. Meron naman sa atin yung modular yung mode nila, no? So most of my sharing would be on the online side. Though siguro may portion about sa mga module or offline printed material, sorry. So, ayan, sorry, ayan. So, first, when we do the calibration, now in our situation, you always, dati ang goal lang natin, matuto sila, makuha nila yung standard, no? So, ngayon, kasama na sa part yung content delivery. This, I guess, is a very important aspect. Paano ba, sa school ba namin, online, or sa school namin, offline, no? May modules, no? So, sa school namin, we're on full online. Kaya yung planning namin, planning. So everything started with planning, though it was a breeze kasi kailangan na talaga before, because we have to move forward. Hindi pwedeng mag-dwell tayo dun sa situation na yun, no? So once we have identified the content delivery that we have wanted, which is online right now, we tried to gather as many data so that we can tailor fit it to the learner reality. So, what did we ask our parents during that time? Like, are you going to enroll if we have online learning? Or are you going to enroll if we have face to face soon enough, no? Once the government allows us to. So, we use this as a leverage for decision making. And now that the decision has been made, we are on full online, no? So now, nag-move forward, tapos na namin. We are on a trimestral basis, no? So hindi kami quarterly. Um nag-move forward na kami, nakatapos na kami ng isang trimester. So medyo mag-share ako about what experiences did we have, no, during the first trimester. We've also had a share of yung comments from different aspects in the institution. So, what I want to share lang is yung, when kasi I feel it I feel you every time I read some posts about sabi nila teacher shaming, no, kapag ano. So hindi naman natin alam kung sino talaga yung nagsulat kapag naka-post sa Facebook, yung mga module. Some people are not even sure if it's really in the if it's really a teacher's module, etc. No, pero marami talagang masarap na mahilig mag-share, no. So sometimes I feel yung sadness whenever yun parang you are crucified for the things that you pwedeng ikaw ang gumawa pero sana naman na correct, 'di ba? So one thing that I have learned sa mga ganon, actually sa institution namin, madami kaming tumitingin sa iisang bagay, no? So, um, bago pa mag-recalibrate, first you have to be open with suggestions, no, and recommendations. Before you reach that recalibration, sa self dapat lagi mong iisipin lahat ng sasabihin nila sa'yo are constructive criticism. So, that's within the internal. Paano yung nangyari sa atin na sa labas maraming nagpo-post? Mas maganda if we will not dwell on it, no? So, kagaya ng sinabi ni Sir Jambi, we always have to move forward and take this as an opportunity for us also to improve ourselves, no? So, um, we've also had a share of hindi naman ganong level, wala namang shaming or mga ganong experiences. But madami din kaming na nakuha na comments from our stakeholders, not only sa parents, not only sa students namin, um, but also dun sa mga mismong nasa institution namin, kasama na yung mga teachers, kasama yung ibang administrators, and also this one is very timely because we just ended our first trimester. And what were the calibration things that we did, no? So sa period ng first trimester, we already have two uh to data-driven evaluation, no? Meron na kaming um, isang set na lahat ng stakeholders kasama, like teachers, support staff, parents, and students, no? And administrators. So lahat kami nag-evaluate on the second month of our implementation. Nung na-complete na namin, this one, there's another group that would like to review. So open lang talaga kami lagi for evaluation, no? So that's how we plan to do it. We continuously do an evaluation of our programs from the different stakeholders so that we can move forward and have a better, have a better offering for the next trimesters, no? So before I dwell into the online, I just want to remind everyone that, when you use technology in your classrooms, what happened to us not only to our institution, but I guess to most of the institutions, teachers were very excited to try out, to try out application programs. Um, Other than trying out, nung nasubukan na nila, talagang inimplement nila sa class, no? And when you are planning your content and content delivery, no? So, kapag online, na-excite talaga tayo na madami tayong pwede ipagawa, na madami tayong um, puwedeng maibigay na makakatulong naman talaga sa kanila. But what happens is yung student nag-iisa lang siya as against the number of subjects na napakagaling magplano 'no. So if a student has a minimum of 5 subjects for example, sa lahat ng teachers na yun na 5 nagpa-plan sila separately and lahat sila excited 'no. So what happened was na parang the students and of course the parents who are with the students were bombarded with different types of things that they need to learn ng mabilis 'no. So kasi nga excited tayo lahat as teachers. So one thing that I can share 'no, so sa how dun sa paano mag-recalibrate after a few months is for teachers and administrators also should, parang slow down a bit 'no. So kailangan, siguro dahan-dahan kasi nagulat nagulat na bigla yung mga recipients ng ating mga pin-repair. It's not a bad thing that we're so prepared. It's not a bad thing that you are so planned, but these are things that you will only discover once you start the implementation. There are a lot of things that you will only discover once you've started implementing your programs. Hindi marami tayong bagay na hindi nakikita no matter how good we are at planning, no matter how good you are with logistics. But kapag hindi talaga sinubukan, kahit naman nag-pilot study tayo, for example, there's a certain percentage, 'di ba, kapag ano na, 'pag 30% ng population natin, puwedeng acceptable na yung result 'no, ng research. But, you always give that opportunity na puwedeng hindi gano'n yung mangyari. Kasi hindi naman talaga sa lahat dineliver 'no. So yung ano, so yun yung I think isa sa mga nangyari for most of the institutions 'no, whether it's public or private. I think isa yun sa mga, nakita ko din na ano, na parang everybody was so excited na, makapagturo, to give value dun sa kunwari sa'min 'no, sa binayad na tuition 'no, kaya kailangan marami kaming maibigay. But hindi hindi sa hindi natin nakita, pero hindi namin na-realize agad yung magiging effect nun doon sa recipient. So, that's one thing that, caught us also. So we wanted to at least slow down in a good way. So yun yung ibang plans, naging plans na namin for us also. We needed to recalibrate not only our teachers but also our academic policies. Tuloy-tuloy yung pag-review ng academic policies namin. Though it's not always changing. We try to modify what we can modify for, pero ang goal lagi is for para ma-improve 'no, pero we don't recalibrate or we don't modify or change everything 'no. So yun, that's one thing that we were able to do, yung academic policies, we reviewed and then compromise at times and of course, try it out again. This is another term that we can try it out. So kanina sabi ni Sir Jambi, do we need that do we have to wait for a trimester? That's roughly 3 to 4 months in order for us to recalibrate. So on the admin level, it will just take us longer kasi mas maraming data, mas madali na nakakapag-decide. But remember, sa admin level, the deciding factor will not only be should not only come from one aspect of the stakeholder, no? Galing lang ba sa students dapat? Galing lang ba sa parents dapat? Galing lang ba sa teachers dapat? O galing lang sa amin na nakakakita ng lahat? Parang gano'n, no? So, it has to be a balance or of everything. And one thing also that we were able to, or one thing that was very helpful to us in recalibrating, is to have this constant meetings with the stakeholders, no? So merong meetings with the teachers, yung the entire community, merong meeting with the parents, no? So we can hear them out, yeah. And so some things that we were at least able to do to help us recalibrate, no, from time to time, because there is really a need to recalibrate, most especially we don't meet face to face, no? So it's really challenging if you don't meet face to face, yan, kahit lagi kayong nag-uusap. And then when I started sa team ko sa educational technology, of course, the work is medyo, um, madami talaga yung work, no? Most especially yung sa amin na part, because yung preparations napunta sa amin yung essentials, no? So, I used to make sise, no? At ito gusto ko i-share kasi kanina sabi ni Sir Jambi yung sa change, no? Um, ay, mahilig before, parang gusto ko sisihin lagi, bakit ako lagi yung pinagagawa, bakit ako na naman, bakit ako, ah, ah, parang gano'n, nag-dwell ako for a time, na sa gano'ng feelings, 'no. So kung ako teacher, bakit ako parang walang tamang ginagawa kung ako yung teacher? Bakit puro kami yung dapat mag-adjust, 'no? So, parang gano'n yung nafi-feel ko before, and then one day parang I realize yung sinabi ni Sir Jambi na, um, I have an option, no. So, lagi ko bang iisipin na gano'n, and then that noise na that will always remind me that, I'm not doing my best, or do I just move forward and do my best? And not that I don't want to listen, but probably be open to that, no. So, one day at a time, no, medyo gusto kong kumawala dun sa idea na may sinisisi akong iba dun sa nangyayari, kung bakit hindi siya at times successful, kung bakit at times mas madami yung naririnig natin na hindi maganda. So, hindi siya agad na mawawala, pero baby steps, we have to always think and decide to move forward. Kasi hindi ito makakatulong not only sa students natin and sa online classroom, but also to yourself, no? So having that burden, of blaming others for what is happening, no? So just be that change, kahit na hindi lahat kayang or naniniwala sa'yo. If you really feel it, be that change. But of course, going back to the definition of calibration, that it has to be peer agreed. So at one point, you have to reach that compromise, no? So let me just give you an idea of how we can, or how I parang tell the teachers, our teachers, no, sa in the online aspect, no. So yung lalo na yung, I'm pretty sure napakadami talagang available na online resources, no. So most of the next two slides will actually focus on how do you evaluate if you like, yan, need to use the application, yung gano'n, you give the value nung application program na yon, no. So kasi isa sa pinakamagandang, when you are planning your online learning, 'no, so what are the application programs that will help you implement that program? Kaya nga siya online, 'no. So, of course, kunwari lahat tayo meron tayong learning management system. So, kami sa school, we have a learning management system. I think you're using Google Classroom. We also do use Google Classroom, 'no, for our other department. So, kaya kahit may LMS na, maglalagay pa din tayo ng mga additional application programs kasi wala ka eh. You want something that will not replace you but will help you reach the idea or reach the content that you want your kids to know. No? So, I tell the teachers kapag maglalagay sila ng application program to always look at the big picture. So, meron ditong several questions. Kapag okay yung mga sagot dito sa questions na to, then you can parang look into it clearly if it's really usable or not. So, what are those questions? Very basic questions actually. No? So, like number one, is it free or does it have a small fee? So, do you really want to shell out, magbayad para lang magamit yung application? So, maraming free, no? So, pag nag-check ka na free siya, pwede mo na ba siya gamitin agad? So, may secondary question. Will it work with my learning management system? So, most of the learning management systems naman, ah, you don't think of it na parang kailangan i-integrate. Like, kunwari sa Google Classroom, where you can just post, that's fine. Pero there are also integrated application programs in your Google G Suite, ano? So, like, for example, dun sa Google Slides, marami kayong makikita ng mga add-ons na pwede natin ilagay, like yung Pair Deck, yan. Pwede nyo na siyang i-integrate. So, Pair Deck, nakaiba naman talaga siya, pero it can be integrated already in your Google Slides. So, other than will it work with my learning management system, yung sa mga apps ba na generic na ginagamit ninyo na kasama sa inyo for free, like sa Google Classroom, kasama na sa G Suite yung Google Slide, madali ka makakapaglagay ng iba pang app. So, kapag if it's very workable with the learning platform that you have, then it's okay. So, free na siya. Tapos, very workable sa learning environment mo. May check ka na sa dalawa. Is it easy to install and set up? No? So, you have to try it out. Hindi pwedeng nakita mo, binasa mo, pero hindi mo ginawa. What are the different limitations that we have encountered or I have encountered sa question number three? We don't have the number of devices, it's very varying. Kunwari, gumagamit ng mobile phones ang lahat ng bata natin. Pero ilan sa kanilang naka-iOS? Well, if it's iOS, madali siya isipin kasi iisa lang naman ng iOS, no? Kapag Android, ano-ano ba yung mga Android? Ano na kaya yung version ng Android niya? Ano kaya yung Android phone niya? Paano mo malalaman if it's um, okay sa mobile device niya, no? So, after the first quarter, I think, no? After the first quarter, wait, mag-first quarter pala kayo. So, more or less, alam niyo na kung ano yung mga gamit ng students niyo, no? So, mas makakapag-adjust na kayo. Is it easy to install? Paano naman yung mga devices na walang Play Store? For example, pero ako gamit ko kunwari Android and na-install ko naman siya, mabilis naman siya i-set up. Pero meron ka palang 5 students na ang gamit nila walang Play Store. So, how do you now plan for them now that you already know that the devices that they have, no? So use that data when you are recalibrating or replanning your modules. Yeah. So ito yung sa big picture to, pag nasagot niyo yung tatlong to, tapos puro yes, it's very feasible that you will be able to use it at least for your class. Now, what are the things that you need to look into kapag yes na lahat dito? So, hindi pa doon natatapos lahat. So, number one, is it easy to use? So, you have to try it out as a teacher. You also have to try it out as a student. Number two, is it easily applied to the learning environment? So, like, available ba siya sa lahat ng devices? So, yun, yung pwede na nating isipin na queer na answer dun 'no. Kasi dun sa kanina, pwede yun sa LMS, madali siya i-install. Ngayon, dun sa learning environment na meron ka kasi ang content delivery natin ay online, if it's easily applied to it, then go for it. Na it supports the four C's. It does not collect personal information. So this is one thing that I want to emphasize for all teachers na yung kasi sa'tin mahilig tayo dun sa single sign-on ano, 'pag nakita natin free yung application for example, and then you can just sign in using your Gmail or yung Google, you can just sign in using your social media, yung Facebook, and we have to really be careful. Sa'tin okey lang, sige kasi adults naman tayo. But if we ask our kids, yung mga minors to do this, tapos hindi natin tinitignan yung aspect that it collects personal information because every time you ask them to sign up, for example, and it collects personal information, we parang tayo mismo yung nagpu-put to danger doon sa mga personal information ng ating mga kids. So one thing that we need to really look into, paano ba magsa-sign in yung bata, no? So pwede namang meron, pero ang tatanungin lang for example ay yung certain email niya, no? So yung mga gano'n yung kailangan natin tignan. Not too much information yung dapat na ibigay, no? So yan. And then it stands the test of time, no? So kahit na anong tawag dun, the longer the app is actually there, mas maiisip natin na mas stable siya. Pero ang dapat natin tignan na nag-a-update yung version ng application program. Hindi, yes, matagal na siya, it's very reliable, but yung developer ba continuously upgrades? Because kapag luma yung application program, hindi na there is a tendency that it may not be available for installation to devices na medyo hindi na up to date yung mga operating system. No? So, yun yung mga dapat natin tignan. And then, lastly, none or few ads. So, maraming na caught off guard dun sa ads. No? So, dahil free yung at least web or yung application. No? So, pero may mga ads, hindi natin kasi makikita talaga lahat ng ads na available, no? What if one time nung ginamit natin, the ad that popped out is not intended for the age or not suited for the age of our learners. No? So these are some things that you can magnify on after you were able to respond to these three. So parang look at the big picture first. Kapag nasagot na yung tatlo, then you can really just magnify on this. Kasi pwede naman talagang, yung iba hindi talaga masasagot yan ng yes. But yung sa big picture, most probably dapat lahat yun yes. No? So, um, and then when you use it in your classroom, for example, um, kapag ikaw as a teacher nahirapan kang gamitin siya, imaginein mo yung mga students na nasa house lang, na walang kasama, how will they be able to use it, 'no? So, yun yung mga bagay na natutunan namin during the first trimester, and with that, we want to recalibrate also the process of our technical support, 'no? So, yun yung naging work ko ngayon, how I do technical support. So, like for example, si teacher meron siyang assignment, yung assignment na 'to requires them to download this app, no? So, kami kailangan alam namin how to do it. We can imagine yung mga devices nila, how it runs on those devices so that we will be able to technical support. And of course, sa school namin, we're very thankful that I have a team that can do technical support. Paano kung sa school ninyo wala silang matatawagan, wala silang makakausap to do the technical support. So, the easier the app can be used, the better. Kapag nga walang installation or web-based siya, sometimes it's better, no? Kasi pag browser-based, mas madali siyang ma-open ng mga devices natin. No? So, yun yung mga things that we will need to consider. So, for the non-print yung mga modular naman, I guess it's a continuing, so what I discussed, sorry, are all online. So to those who are doing offline, I guess, um what can help us recalibrate also is, now that you know that the content delivery is, for example, if a photocopy pala lahat ng materials, ano, and then yung pin-prepare mo na module would be colored, no, and yung mga directions natin na nilalagay natin doon is or pertains to the use of colors, no. Siguro now that we know that the content delivery is we will be using a photocopier for this, so we can recast the directions and the some of the content as well, no. So those are for what I noticed lang for print, no, that may be helpful. And other than that, as teachers, we can also, upscale our skills and recalibrate. Baka naman may other means to redesign yung mga module natin. I'm not about content. It's about how yung face validity, no. So yung not on the content validity really, but face validity, something that we can upscale also on, no. So yung we use other um uh, word processors na mas into design, mga desktop publishers for example, no. So kasi alam na natin na if a photocopy pala, so baka naman mas maganda kapag hindi na full color yung ginagawa mo pa lang, hindi na siya full color for example, no. So yan. Good morning, A survey is really very necessary. Sorry, may nabasa kasi ako. A survey is really necessary for us to know what available tools students are using. Ang mahirap naman sa survey, i-share ko pala kung ano yung naging difficulty namin sa survey. Yung hindi talaga lahat sasagot, ano, hindi talaga 100% sasagot. So, I suggest na the easiest way to reach our audience, teachers can ask simple questions, and then, just see yung responses ng students natin. So, very helpful yung mga exit slips natin for the students, no. So if you want to evaluate kung naging okay ba yung experience nila on the particular application, did they have difficulty, etc. And also probably not naman don't add or don't use, pero yung we limit the use of yung varying application programs for every skill. Sa skill na 'to gagamit ako ng ganito, sa skill na 'to gagamit ako ng ganito. You might want to let also your students, parang see the value, lalo na kung maganda, tapos lalo na kung sanay na sila magamit, 'no, because they will really enjoy it once they, parang tayo rin na teachers, kapag lagi na natin siyang ginagamit, yung natuto na tayo, 'di ba, mas marami na tayong puwede gawin. So I guess it's also the same for students, 'yan. And another one probably that we can share, we have yung mga teachers namin who group themselves together, and parang pareho naman yata tayo do'n, ano, na yung mga performance tasks natin we can do integrated. And then with this, so there's only one application program that your students need to learn, just for you, in order to for them to do your performance or product tasks, no. So that's one thing that what do you call this, that's one thing that we were able to also see that's very useful, no. So I would like to end with us very similar with Mr. Jambi's reminder a while ago, that um, when we are doing recalibration, we always have to know the best practices and lessons that we have learned, that we have to carry forward. Kasi I'm pretty sure you're all doing good, and you have already at least identified yung strategies na puwedeng gamitin ng paulit-ulit, kasi it's a bit effective, or it's not a bit. So, it's because it's effective when you are, implementing your lesson. So, when we do recalibration, we also focus on hindi yung mga dapat lang palitan, but also yung mga, because we recalibrated, we have decided that these best practices and lessons that we have learned will be carried forward. No? So, yan, I think I have extended into more than 15 minutes. Yan. So, thank you very much for joining me, sorry, and Mr. Jambi.
Ayan. Hi, Miss Jem. Walang problema yun. Ayan. Okay na okay yung ano, yung pag-extend mo. I'm sure na natulungan naman yung ating mga kaagapay na to reflect on their own programs. At saka ano na rin, very active na rin yung comment section natin. They have been sharing their ideas about how to get certain information from our students, etc. So, yun naman yung ano natin. Yun naman yung goal natin. So, don't worry. Okay yung pag-extend mo. At wag din kayo mag-alala, dear kaagapay, kasi mamaya, meron pa rin naman tayong more than enough time for interaction, for your questions, even sharing of experiences. But perhaps at this point, pagpapahingahin ko po muna saglit si Miss Jem, and I will introduce to all of you now naman my other colleague, ayan, who will be sharing this time from the context of alternative education. Ayan, ano ba yung alternative education? Hayaan ko na po na siya ang magpaliwanag niyan. Pero it is an honor for me, very grateful to him for having accepted my invitation. Dear Kaagapay, ang kaibigan ko po na kasalukuyang Associate Principal for Alternative Education ng Lasal Green Hills, Mr. Ray Ducay. Ay, nakamute pa sir, konti.
Good morning, everyone. Sir
Morning,
Jambi, maraming
sir.
salamat sa invitasyon. I'm very glad to be able to join you and seeing from the comments no ang active ng
Yes.
ating audience no. The insights are really coming from the teachers. I've seen as a student and um very rich ang context ng ating usapan. From my end naman, like what you have assigned to me, my context really is from the alternative education that is being offered in our school. If I may share now, Sir Jambi, okay na ba? Pwede
Sige,
ko na
opo.
pagkitahan?
Yeah.
Ayan, sige po. Maraming salamat. Um, so, um, my context really as an alternative educator is limited to the following. Next slide po. Okay. So we offer an adult night school wherein we have a junior high school and senior high school. But our students are not the regular age students. They are 16 years old and above. And almost all of them come from poor families. Okay, although they study in LaSalle Green Hills, which is most commonly which is commonly known as a school for the rich, we have a lot of poor students studying in LaSalle Green Hills at nighttime. And we also have deaf learners in our school. And another is we have the alternative learning system. We have ALS students, elementary and junior high school. And then also we have the TechVoc, Technical Vocational Education and Training. We have different courses like hairdressing, dressmaking, food and beverage, electrical installation, and others. Okay, but these TVET courses are still undergoing TESDA registration because they still have to be approved by TESDA for online instruction. Okay, so basically ito po yung aking background, no? Dito po manggagaling yung aking mga pinagkukunan ng aking mga karanasan sa panibagong normal na ating educational system. Next slide po. Okay, so I'll share with you some issues that we have encountered in the alt ed. At the beginning, we were at the quandary whether we're going to use printed modules, or are we going to venture into online learning? We had our worries because online learning would require gadgets, di ba? Kailangan ng tablets, kailangan ng laptop, kailangan ng connection. We initially thought that it would be better for our students to have printed modules. So yung parang ginagawa ng DepEd ngayon. But again, tinimbang din namin, malaki din ang magiging cost kasi ng printed modules. Imagine, for every subject, you're going to print 1 or 2 learning modules. How many subjects would that be? And then how are we going to deliver this to our students? Diba? Meron din kami kasi mga estudyanteng minor. So habang quarantine, hindi sila pwedeng lumabas, hindi sila pwedeng pumunta ng school para kumuha ng mga modules. So, eventually, although nung umpisa sabi namin magpe-printed modules kami, eventually we decided that it's better for us to go into online teaching. So, earlier may nag-comment na kailangan mo munang alamin, survey kung anong meron ang iyong mga estudyante. Thankfully, we did that survey for our alt-ed students and we found out that almost all of them have smartphones. Okay? So sabi namin, maybe a smartphone is not as big as a laptop or a tablet, pero pwede. Okay? And then when we asked our students what would be their preference, they chose instead to use the smartphones rather than the printed modules. Kasi pag printed modules, kailangan nilang kunin yung mga modules sa eskwelahan. And that would entail pamasahe at saka paglabas during quarantine na hindi naman pinapayagan. Okay? So, ayun. We proceeded. We opened the first trimester using online teaching. So yung platform namin ay Google Classroom. And then, as expected, yun na nga, ang problema namin ngayon ay yung connectivity ng aming mga estudyante. Kasi, coming from poor families, we cannot really expect them to be spending like 500 pesos for their mobile data. Okay, 500 pesos a month for their mobile data, di ba? Pag sa isang pamilyang mahirap, tapos quarantine pa, walang mga trabaho, ang 500 pesos ay hindi mo gagastusin sa mobile data. Ibibili mo yan ng pagkain. So, yun, isa sa mga naging problema namin. On the first month, maraming mga estudyante ang hindi makakonect, hindi sila makapasok. Okay? So, again, uh, we had to do something, you know, we had to come up with something to address this problem of our students. So ang ginawa namin, naghanap kami ng mga benefactors. Talagang lahat ng mga graduates, mga alumni, mga groups, I remember pati si Miss Ann Curtis, sinulatan ko para lang makahingi ng tablet. Talagang kinapalanan namin ang mukha namin para makakuha kami ng mga donors para sa aming mga estudyante. And we are very happy because at on the second coming third month of our trimester, we were able to get enough funds for us to give subsidy to our students. Ngayon po, ang aming po mga estudyante sa AltEd ay binibigyan namin sila ng mobile data allowance every month. Okay? So, at kitang-kita po ang epekto nito sa attendance nila. Okay? So, talagang nung nabigyan na sila ng mobile data allowance, um, nakita namin ang improvement nila sa pag-attend sa aming mga sumunod na mga sessions. Okay, next slide please. Okay. And then, ito naman, synchronous or asynchronous. Siyempre, ang dating nakasanayan ng teacher ay kung ang schedule niya ay 3 times a week, gusto niya magturo ng 3 times a week din. Pero hindi pwede. Unang-una, magastos sa data para sa aming mga estudyante, di ba? Pangalawa, ah, baka naman maaaring yung mga ilang mga bagay-bagay ay pwedeng ilagay na sa learning module at kayang pag-aralan ng bata sa tulong ng mga references at resources na ibibigay ni teacher. Okay? So, um, yun. So, kailangan pag-isipan namin mabuti yun kasi sa synchronous, yun nga, yung attendance yung magiging problema namin. Dahil yung mga bata mauubos yung data nila kung lagi silang naka-online. Pag asynchronous naman, nangyari yung sinasabi ni Miss Jem kanina na yung mga teachers masyadong excited sa paggawa ng kanilang mga modules, kanya-kanyang kanya-kanyang activities, kanya-kanyang outputs. So ang nangyari, na-bombard naman ngayon ng mga gawain ng mga estudyante namin. So, um, ito yung mga kinailangan naming pakinggan and i-recalibrate talaga. When we needed to act so that our students would not feel discouraged and overwhelmed in attending online classes. Kasi uh, isipin natin na hindi rin madali para sa mga estudyante ang nakababad ka sa harapan ng smartphone o ng tablet o ng laptop at ang dami-daming pinapagawa ni teacher. Okay? Tapos ang synchronous session ay once a week lang. So parang feeling alone ngayon ng estudyante. Sino ang tutulong sa kanya? Buti sana kung matatalino kung ang kanilang mga magulang ay kasing tatalino ng teachers, 'di ba? Na pwedeng pwede silang tulungan pero aminin na natin yung ibang mga parents ay hindi rin naman ganoon ka-enthusiastic at saka ganoon ka familiar sa mga lessons ng ating mga estudyante. Okay? So, ayun. Next issue po na encounter namin sa AltEd. Next slide, please. Okay. Assessments. Okay? Assessments kasi papaquiz ka. Pero, hindi kaya yung iba ay nagse-search ng sagot sa internet? 'Di ba? So ano yung integrity ng ng sagot kung lalo kung puro objective yung tanong mo. So you have to adjust now. Kailangan nung baguhin yung mga questions. Hindi pwedeng puro objective yung questions mo. Malay mo nagte-textan pala yung mga kaklase. Okay? Sagot alamin mo yung sagot sa numbers 5 to 10, alamin ko yung sagot sa numbers 1 to 4. Tapos share na lang tayo. Yung tipong ganon. Okay? And then, yung backlogs in the submission of outputs. Kasi nga, dahil nga sa sobrang dumami yung mga pinaggawa ng teacher, ang dami talagang backlogs. Maraming mga estudyante ang nagrereklamo na ang dami-daming pinapagawa at there isn't enough time. I'd like to share with you na sa aming school, sa AltEd, marami kaming mga estudyante na mga adults na at nagtatrabaho na. Marami sa kanila ay mga breadwinners. Some of them are working as domestic helpers. They are employed. So, yung pag-aaral ay hindi buong araw nilang ginagawa, kundi dun lang sa bandang gabi kung saan lang sila merong time. Okay? So, understandably, ang aming mga estudyante ay biglang natambakan ng mga gawain, lalo na yung mga asynchronous activities. Okay? So, isa rin to sa mga adjustments na ginawa namin. For the assessment, ang ginawa namin calibration dyan is we had to change the questions that we are asking. Kailangan kailangan mas higher order thinking skills talaga ang kailangan mong itanong. Questions that would bring out their creativity, their critical thinking, okay? And then do sa submission naman, pinatawag namin yung mga teachers. Okay, teachers, gawa tayo ng calendar. I-plot ninyo lahat ng mga submissions ninyo. Okay? Para makita natin sa isang linggo gaano ba kadami ang pinapasubmit natin sa mga teachers. And then pag nakita naman natin na 3 na sa isang linggo ang pinapasubmit natin o kaya 4 na ang pinapasubmit natin sa isang linggo, bawasan naman natin. O kaya magsanib kayo ng mag-integrate kayo ng output para mabawasan yung isasubmit ng mga teachers. O kaya iurong ninyo yung deadline at may spread out natin yung mga activities such that hindi natin mapupuno yung isang linggo na sabay-sabay tayo ng submission. Okay? So yun po ang mga issues namin na encounter sa night school, no? Sa ALS naman po, next slide please. Sa ALS naman po, um, ganun din po. May similarity. Printed modules din. Nagkaroon din kami ng pagtatalo kung printed modules ba o online teaching ba. Okay? Pero sa ALS, um, hindi kami nakapag full online teaching. Okay? Mahirap kasi. Mahirap. Lalo na meron kayong mga estudyante na basic literacy ang tinuturo namin. No read, no write. Okay? Mga advanced na in the age, mga teenagers na or grade school age na, pero hindi pa rin sila marunong magbasa at magsulat. So paano mo sila tuturuan sa online teaching, di ba? Okay? Tapos, mas maraming estudyante din sa ALS ang mas preferred pa rin nila yung printed modules. Okay? Sabihin na natin na nai-intimidate sila sa paggamit ng gadgets, sa paggamit ng internet para sa kanilang pag-aaral. Kumbaga, ang pakiramdam nila, nag-uumpisa pa nga lang kami mag-aral tapos internet na agad, 'di ba? So, uh, parang dahan-dahan naman. So we really had to use printed modules for them. Okay? And then, pero meron din naman, especially yung mga junior high school na, no, okay na sa kanila yung online teaching. Okay. But, ito yung sa naging problema namin. Marami sa mga estudyante namin, we found out, ay hindi marunong gumamit ng email. Okay? So, uh, imbes na sabak na agad sa learning module sa umpisa ng trimester, nag-recalibrate ulit kami. Baguhin natin yung scope ng ating lessons. Umpisa muna tayo sa paggamit ng email. So, umpisang-umpisa talaga as in how to activate your email. Yun ang pinaka-umpisa. How to log in, how to use password, change password, navigate the email. Okay? Yun ang pinaka-umpisa ng aming lessons para sa ALS. Okay? And then, again, nandun din yung connectivity of students. Okay? So similar to what we did to our night school students, we also had to subsidize the connectivity of our students. We also had to look for donors. Ako talaga, kung ako tatanungin nyo, ako ay isang believer ng miracles because you would not believe yung mga biyaya na dumating nung pinagdasal namin na sana ay magkaroon kami ng tulong, may pumasok na tulong para mabigyan namin ng subsidy ang aming mga estudyante at para sila ay magkaroon ng internet connection kahit man lang sa kanilang telepono. Um, meron at meron talagang dumarating na mga tulong. Kailangan mo lang talagang ipagdasal yan at humingi ng tulong. Magugulat talaga tayo. Merong ibinibigay ang Diyos para sa ating mga estudyanteng nangangailangan. Okay, next slide po. Another issue that we encountered in ALS. Next slide, please. Sir Jabi. Ayan, ito. Yung time at saka availability of the students and the teachers. Kasi um, sa sa oras, maraming mga estudyante namin sa ALS dahil nga biglang taghirap ang panahon, di ba? Yung mga dating maayos ang trabaho, nawalan ng trabaho, yung mga dating kayang suportahan ng magulang, kinakailangan magtrabaho, okay? So, uh, na 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 nabago yung kanilang yung kanilang availability. So, we had to change the schedules of our classes. So, nagkaroon kami ng morning classes and then we offered afternoon classes at saka para dun sa mga nagtatrabaho, we also offered evening classes. Ngayon, may karugtong na problema to. Kasi pag mas marami kang klase, kailangan mo ng mas maraming teachers. So, uh, admittedly, nung umpisa, talagang kinulang kami ng teachers. But then again, um, we went around and then we asked for more volunteers. And mabait ng Diyos, maraming mga volunteer teachers ang lumapit sa amin at sinabi nila sa amin, Sir, willing po kaming magturo sa ALS kahit po sa gabi. Okay? So, uh, again, that helped us, that solved our problems. So, maraming mga taong busilak ang kalooban na talagang uh, willing na mag-extend ng kanilang time, ng kanilang effort para makatulong sa mga nangangailangan. Okay? And then, so far po so far, next slide please. Ano na po ang aming mga natutunan, no? Sorry. I have to mention this, no? I have to mention this kasi ito na sobrang natutuwa ako dito. Alam niyo man na dahil dito sa online learning, dahil nagkaroon ng online learning at ang mga teachers ay merong capacity na makapagturo online, work from home, nagkaroon kami ng opportunity na mag-offer at mag-open ng ALS classes sa Mandaluyong City Jail. Okay? So, ang ating pong mga persons deprived of liberty, okay, yung ating inmates, okay, na, na, na-offer po namin sa kanila yan. Akala namin kukunti lang yung mag-enroll ng ALS sa City Jail. Aba, ang dami. Akalain niyo po mahigit 200 po sa mga inmates ng ng Mandaluyong City Jail ang nag-enroll sa aming ALS at saka TVET classes. Okay? So, this is one of the good things that came up because of the online learning classes. Okay? Next slide, please. Okay, what have we learned so far? Itong first trimester namin. Una, everything is new. Okay? Lahat. So, wag tayong, mag-alinlangan kung hindi natin sigurado kung anong kalalabasan. Gano'n talaga kasi walang ano, eh, there's no patterns, walang templates, walang benchmarks, lahat bago, lahat nangangapa. So, do not be afraid to go to uncharted territories. Okay, yung picture ko diyan ay galing sa libro na Who Moved My Cheese? Hindi ko alam kung pamilyar po kayo diyan. Sa Who Moved My Cheese, ah, kung mababasa po ninyo yan, it's about change. And what are you supposed to do kapag biglang nabago ang iyong environment, biglang nabago ang iyong comfort zone, bigla kang tinanggal sa comfort zone. Okay? So, uh, anong gagawin mo? Are you going to wait? Are you going to wait for things to go back to the way they are? Or are you going to act? 'Di ba? Kasi posible nga naman mag-antera lang tayo na bumalik sa dati. I'm sure gano'n ang ating ano, marami sa atin 'di ba gano'n ang ating sentiment nung nag-umpisa yung pandemic. Let's wait for things to go back to normal. Okay? But then later on we realize, sandali lang, parang tumatagal na, wala pa ring bakuna. So ano, mag-aantay pa rin ba tayo? Okay? So some of us decided not to wait for too long and instead acted already and adapted to the new situation. Okay? Ganun ang story ng Who Moved My Cheese. You have to adapt and you have to act. Okay? Para makuha mo, para makapag-adjust ka sa bago mong environment. Okay? Next slide please. Okay. Listen to the feedback. Nabanggit ito paulit-ulit kanina ni Sir Jambi, ni Miss Jem. Okay? What's the feedback? What's the noise? What is the noise about? Okay? From the students, from the parents, from the teachers. So after a certain amount of time of implementation, you ask. Okay? Tanungin mo, so how are you? Mabigat ba? Mabigat ba ang trabaho? Madami bang submission? The parents, kumusta kayo? Ah, naubos ba yung oras ninyo na nakatabi lang kayo sa inyong mga anak? Okay? These things we need to know. Okay? And hindi tayo dapat maging masyadong sensitive pagdating sa mga criticisms. Okay? Ganoon talaga. Meron talagang mga taong hindi mahusay magbigay ng constructive criticism. Okay? Tayo bilang mga teachers at tayo bilang mas nakakaalam, ah, tayo dapat yung mas open-minded at mas intindi sa ganitong mga bagay. Okay? So, yun. The next po, next slide po. Okay. Find the right balance. Okay? Find the right balance. Understandably, sa umpisa talagang hindi ka agad perfect 'yan. Sabi nga ni Sir Jambi, wala namang day one pa lang perfect na. Okay? So, find the right balance. So, adjust. Okay? Adjust. Is it fair? Is it unfair? Sa teachers, fair ba yan? Sa students, unfair ba yan? Sa parents, fair ba yan? Sa the school, sa administrators, okay? Kailangang balansehin. At dahil nga bago ang sitwasyon sa atin, wala naman tayong pagbabasihan pa. So, ang pagbabasihan lang talaga natin ay kung ano yung nangyayari ngayon. Okay? Wala pang mga studies na nagsasabi na ah, pag ganitong homework, pag ganitong amount of homework ang ibinigay ninyo online, sobra-sobra na yan. Wala pa naman mga ganun eh. Okay? Everything is new for us. So we have to adjust. Okay? Do not set your policies on stone just yet. Okay? Sabi nga ni Ms. Jem kanina, um, kailangan yung mga policies flexible din siya para makuha natin yung tamang balance. Okay? Ano ang tamang balance between synchronous sessions and asynchronous sessions? 'Pag nakuha mo na yung tamang balance, pareho ba yan para sa lahat ng grade levels? Ang 50% synchronous, 50% asynchronous ba ay magwo-work din sa mga early grades? Or magwo-work din ba yan sa mga senior high school? O sa senior high school, pwede ng 80% asynchronous, 20% synchronous. At din dapat ba sa early grades, kailangan 100% synchronous? Okay? Yung mga ganong mga bagay. Okay? So, wag nating i-permanent agad-agad. Okay? Dahil, understandably, meron at meron tayong mga hindi pa alam dahil nga bago ang sitwasyon. Okay po? Okay. And then last slide. Okay. This is a question. Will online classes disappear after this pandemic? Pag meron na bang bakuna, mawawala na ba yung mga online classes? Back to the same na ba tayo? I think hindi po. Okay? Most likely, we're not going back to the same uh, situation before. Okay? This pandemic, I would like to liken this to a fast forward button. Okay? Um, Online classes, blended learning, they were already an emerging trend even before pandemic. Okay? It's only that with this pandemic, we were forced to change quickly and we had to adapt, whether we liked it or not. Okay? Otherwise, we would be obsolete. So, most likely, no, especially with the industry setting up the structures needed for more online classes. Ang nakikinita ko po ay ang blended learning at ang online instruction, they are already here to stay. So, um, we have to adjust, we have to adapt. Okay po? And that's it for my presentation. Maraming salamat po.
Ayan. Thank you very much, Ray. And of course, thank you also, Miss Jem, sa ating mga kaagapay. Ayan. Thank you very much for, again, joining us this morning. Pasensya na po kayo. But I hope you don't mind na, na medyo nag-overtime kami ng kaunti. Don't worry. We will entertain siguro a maximum of 3 questions for now. Pero gusto ko lang pong i-share sa inyo na true to the title of our webinar on calibration and recalibration, kami po mismo habang nagaganap yung seminar ay nagkaroon din kami ng recalibration, and I hope it pleases you to know that we are planning to have a part 2 of this webinar. We would like to be able to invite also more people from different contexts pa. Siguro perspective ng government, perspective ng mga schools implementing full modular modality. Ayan, para lahat po tayo ay makarelate, lahat po tayo ay makapag-share. Ayan. So, ayaw din naman kasi namin na na kainin ang oras ninyo for lunch dahil mahalagang mahalaga din 'yon lalo na sa panahon ng pandemya. Pero 3 questions. Ayan. We are more than willing to accept 3 questions. Meron dito, how often should we do calibration and recalibration? Ayan, sige. I'd like to believe na walang iisang sagot lang sa tanong na 'yan. Okay? Pero tanungin natin from iba't ibang perspective kasi kami nanggagaling nila Sir Ray at saka ni Miss Jem. So unahin na muna natin si Miss Jem.
Ayan. So, yung how often should we do calibration and recalibration depends also on what we want to calibrate and recalibrate. Like I mentioned a while ago, yung academic policies, no? To me, it's better if we try it out at least one trimester, one quarter, one period. We don't want to keep on changing every now and then. na, "Oh, ngayong month nag-complain sila ganito." I'm not referring to parents alone, students alone, or teachers alone. If there is a group who would, give constructive criticism, it doesn't necessarily mean na kailangan niyo magbago agad or kailangan i-recalibrate agad. Give it some time. The bigger the coverage of what you want to recalibrate, the longer at least you should have an experience on why you need to recalibrate and calibrate. On the classroom level, I guess it can be as parang as frequent as needed, no? So, ngayon gumamit ka ng ganitong strategy, ginamit mo na siya ng twice, you see a good effect, you might want to ask your students, did they really enjoy using that? So, depends on the aspect that you are into, no? So, sa pag-teachers, of course, we want it as frequent as possible, but not too frequent that you get to calibrate recalibrate and change everything, no? So, the change that we are experiencing right now is such a big challenge, and having that certain kind of, yes, what Sir Ray mentioned, yung balance and also stability. You want to establish stability also, kaya naman tayo nagka-calibrate and recalibrate, 'di ba? So you want our students to feel na, pag alam ko na to, medyo mas okay na ako. So the certain kind of feeling of yung stability doon sa mga recipients natin. So as an admin, probably a longer period of time, but not too long that parang hindi na tayo nakikinig masyado kapag marami na talagang nasasabi or hindi magandang effect to that matter. But for the classroom, I guess as frequent as possible, but we want stability also.
Thank you, Miss Jem. So Ray, would you like to add? Yeah.
Sa akin naman, no, I agree with what Miss Jem said. There are things that you need to calibrate often. There are things that you need to calibrate slowly. Okay? Depende kung gaano kalaki o kaliit yung mga bagay na yan. But what I would like to add to what Miss Jem said is um, they have your changes have to be data driven. Okay? Kailangan may basis ka sa pagpapalit mo ng when you calibrate things, when you calibrate policies, outputs, loads, etc. Okay? Um, we should also avoid naman knee-jerk reactions. Dahil lang merong dalawang parents na nagreklamo, tumawag, nagsulat, ay bigla kang agad magbabago ng iyong policy. No. So kailangan din data driven. So importante talaga yung meron kang mga surveys na ginagawa, meron kang mga feedback forms na hinihingi para dun mo naman ibabase ang iyong magiging changes. At remember also that something that you change may not be beneficial for all the stakeholders, okay? Or even for all the same grade levels. So kinakailangan din talaga um yung calibration is also tempered and data driven. That's my take.
Yan. Thank you very much, Sir Ray. Ako naman very quickly, dadagdag ko lang. Babalik ako dun sa shinare ko kanina na model ng process of communication. Dagdag sa sinabi ni Miss Jem at dagdag sa sinabi ni Sir Ray, ilalagay din natin yung sarili natin doon sa mga receivers natin. If the change you're going to implement will not benefit them, will just confuse them, so it's probably a change that you shouldn't do, or it's probably a change that you should slowly do. Hindi necessary na agad-agad, but if it's a change na very very necessary, otherwise mapapahamak sila or mali na yung matututunan nila throughout the then those are calibrations that are necessary na immediate nating gawin. Pero tulad nga ng sinabi nila, data-driven and pipiliin mo kung anong klase ng calibration yung gagawin mo. In recalibration, do we consider all stakeholders? Yan. What can you say about that, sirs? And Miss Jem?
Uh, well, sorry, for the institution, we deemed it necessary that all stakeholders be part of the at least the pre-evaluation. So, like, sino ba yung stakeholders na yun? Like sa institution namin, hindi pwedeng teachers lang kasi we also have support staff that support the teachers. So, we need to ask them also. The administrators as well. So, kasi iba-iba yung needs nila other than the students and the parents. So, of course, the more point of view that you can gather for us is the better, but also depends on the need rin talaga. Like say for example, I read a question a while ago, Sir Jambi. I hope you don't mind if I just segue for that. Just kasi I nasulat ko siya like what can you give us an example of a policy that you like yan, give us a policy that you have sorry doon na that you have modified, no, within the trimester, no? This one is something I guess that's true for everyone. Since online learning siya, marami sa atin nakakapag-online anytime. So si teacher, pwede siyang mag-post, kunwari ng 11 p.m., magpo-post siya ng 1 a.m., no? So, na-realize namin na some of the comments of our users, no, yung users na students and parents natin, they sorry, they get to parang nati-trigger pala sila kapag may nakikita silang posting ng beyond school hours. So that's one policy that we compromised with. Also, not only because yung parents sinabi yon, but we also want to help our teachers. So manage your time and make use of the yung the remaining time of the day, no, to have quality time with family because work from home is really not hindi pa siya parang innate sa setup natin ngayon. No? So it's a policy that we did not decide upon just because we heard or listened from the parents or from the students, but because we also want our teachers to live a life, a quality life that everybody deserves, I guess. Yeah.
Correct. Para may time na mag-participate sa kaagapay webinars.
Yes.
Sir Ray, would you wish to add something to that po?
Uh, ano yun, just sa stakeholders,
Yes, sir.
tama,
Yes,
no?
sir.
The question, do we consider all the stakeholders? Well, I think we have to consider as many stakeholders as affected. You know, uh, kung sino yung mga apektado dun sa mga policies na kailangang tingnan, well, we definitely have to ask for their inputs, no? Kasi hindi mo naman pwedeng, that was a problem. Noong una, akala namin the policy making steps that we are doing is from the ground up. Okay? But we realized later on na some teachers pala don't feel it that way. Feeling nila, binababaan lang sila ng binababaan ng mga policies. Okay? So, and to be honest with you, from the perspective of the administrator, we didn't know that. Okay? But apparently, somewhere along the lines of communication, merong breakdown. And that's what we had to address. Okay? So yun. And then going forward to the next question. Sagutin ko na yung next question, Sir Jambi, regarding
Sure,
what
sir.
example of policies, no? Kasi nga nagkaroon ng madaming feedback regarding the volume of outputs that the students need to come up with. So um it's one thing that we had to ask the teachers, we had to ask the parents, okay? And then uh we came up with the policy na for every subject, one homework only, okay? Or that avoid giving homeworks on ano yun? On Fridays,
Right.
okay?
Weekends.
On weekend, no submissions on weekends, okay? Yung mga ganong mga bagay. Kasi Sometimes yung teachers din nagmamadali din, okay? Or yun nga yung dahil nag-work from home, all of a sudden yung mga teachers at saka mga personnel is available for can be reached 24/7. So ayun din, so nagreklamo din ngayon yung mga teachers, aba, lampas na sa office hours nag-e-email ka pa. Okay, so yung mga ganyang mga bagay ba, pero um, from the point of the administrator, uh, hindi mo naman sila pini-pressure pero parang feeling nila 'pag nag-email ka pressured silang sumagot agad-agad. Okay, so these things had to be recalibrated, okay? Itong mga policy na 'to, oh, 'pag lampas ng office hours, ah, iwasan na nating magbibigay ng mga communication sa ating mga teachers kasi they need to unplug, okay? Yung mga these are the things, these are the policies that uh, we needed to change.
Yes, thank you very much, Sir Ray. At bago po tayo magpaalam kay Miss Jem at saka kay Sir Ray, sasagutin ko lang din po, dadagdagan ko yung sinabi nila tungkol sa why is it important or whether or not we should involve all stakeholders whenever we do calibration or recalibration. Kasi po by definition, ang stakeholder is any person involved in the organization. And when we say involved, kasama po dyan yung responsibilities. Sila rin ay may responsibilities sa organisasyon at sila rin ay bahagi ng success ng organization. So if we want the program to be successful, ultimately for the betterment of our students, then all of these stakeholders must be considered. At gaya nga po ng sabi namin, we also considered many aspects. Kaya naman, I hope you are excited. Magkakaroon tayo ng part 2 of this particular webinar para mas makapag-invite pa tayo ng iba pang very brilliant speakers katulad na lang. Samahan niyo naman po ako, bigyan natin ng masigabong palakpakan si Sir Ray Ducay at si Miss Jem Astronomo. Maraming salamat po for spending your Saturday morning with us. Kilala ko po yung mga kaagapay natin. They are very appreciative of the time that you spent with them. Sana po maulit. Sabihin niyo lang po kung gusto niyo mag-share ulit with our mga kaagapay. And once again, maraming salamat, Sir Ray and Miss Jem. Thank you po. Sa puntong ito, tinatawagan ko ang aking partner na si Sir Franco. Are you there, Sir Franco?
Good afternoon. Sobrang ganda. As in like, ang ganda ng mga input 'no, yung talagang, it's really more of like hindi siya I mean, at siguro kailangan expect ng mga teachers natin, hindi talaga yung, session natin for today, but it's more of a reflective, session. And I think Sir Jambi 'no, that's what I actually appreciated 'no, yung bringing up the questions, bringing up the issues, that we have to face, in distance learning. Kasi nga, ako talaga naniniwala ako dun na idea ng, for us to be able to really move forward, we really have to look backward in a bit, no, to see what's wrong, what's right, okay? And isang comment kanina gusto kong i-emphasize, no, ang ganda nung idea niya na tama, gradual lang sana yung changes. Kaya siyempre we have to also appreciate yung efforts ng mga teachers natin kasi kahit gaano mo siya gawing gradual, may pressure kasi sobrang abrupt nung changes na nangyari sa atin. Like, there are so many pressures, pressured by the parents, pressured by the students, pressured by the administrators, pressured by the society. No? We are being targeted in social media, Sir Jambi, no? So yun yung mga ganong pressure. Pero yun, siguro teachers, just like what Sir Jambi and the rest of the guest speakers said, let's take it down a little bit, and let's calibrate and recalibrate things so that we'll progress better, no? So sa distance learning natin. Ngayon, Sir Jambi, meron lang akong couple of announcements. So bago tayo magbigay ng ating evaluation link, okay? These are some good news, no? Syempre, just as always, no? Yung mga next topics natin, nakukuha natin yan sa webinars natin.
'Di ba? That's
Oh,
part of
yes. Ay,
calibration and
ito yung ating
recalibration.
next topic. Meron na kaagad tayong, next so ito po yung request 'no, ni-request ng mga teachers natin and we'll try to plan out, and, design 'no, this, session. We'll be having a session on communication platforms for distance learning, for students, parents, and teachers. So this is not only for teachers. So what we're going to do here is to invite everyone kasi nga hindi pwedeng teachers lang. Kailangan kung teacher dapat alam din ni student. Okay? Kung yung device
Correct.
or application, alam niya kung paano gamitin. Dapat alam din ni student. And of course, yung partners natin or collaborators natin sa distance learning, yung mga parent. So we'll be sending you more details. Okay? This is
Alam mo,
on using message. Go ahead, Sir Jam.
Sir Franco, you know what's nice about that webinar? Isa kasi sa admittedly mga challenges ng schools ay how to communicate with the parents and the students. Yung alam mo yan, yung feeling mo hindi kasi nila naiintindihan eh. Tapos hindi mo naman maiparating sa kanila. So, baka, ayan, pag-isipan ninyo sa mga schools niyo, baka you can use this webinar or maybe you can team up with Kaagapay. Samahan namin kayo, tulungan namin kayo to reach out to your parents, to reach out to your students para mas maganda yung magiging patungan ng school year natin.
Yes, correct. Para ma-empower sila. Ito yung tatawag sir natin na holistic empowerment ng education natin. So, talagang we can't really do this alone. Yun na yung kailangan nating tanggapin no as educators. And we really have to empower our students and parents to be able to get through this. And plus again, sabi nga ni Sir Ray, so hindi to ngayon lang, hindi to matatapos ngayon, okay? It will continue and the earlier we prepare all of us no in this new setup, the better for our educational system. Okay? And last one Sir Jambi no, this is something that our teachers have been requesting and also to address no some concerns of our some students din no and parents no. We will be releasing sa ating Facebook page this guidelines no. So this will be available in PDF, usual natin na quick reference. So gabay sa paggamit ng para sa mga estudyante at magulang. Kasi I think no one of the biggest problems is sometimes na yung mga students na overwhelm sa paggamit ng mga modules. Gaano pa kaganda yung pagkaka-design ng modules or yung content, yung way of organizing or using the modules, medyo yung mga students natin. So we will design a quick reference no, for students, for the parents to be able to maximize the use of their modules. Okay. Ngayon sir, last one na ang ating webinar reminders. Okay. Para lang alam na ng mga teachers. Alam naman ng mga teachers natin, no? Lagi natin tong sinishare. Para lang
Uy,
yan.
pero meron tayong may new attendee kanina.
Yes. Oh,
And
mga
she was
bago.
asking about she was asking about the evaluation link.
Yes. Actually, Sir Jambi, no, marami tayo ngayon dito mga education students. Ngayon, mga nagpapaalam na pwede ba kami sumali kahit education students pa lang kami. Yes po, no, kasi kayo po ang future ng education natin. Okay, so some webinar reminders. Evaluation link will be given, no? At the end of the training or after answering the evaluation, your certificates will be sent to you via email 5 to 7 days. Okay? And so that what Sir Jambi, no? Now, first for your evaluation. Yan. Okay, so Sir Jambi, some final reminders, some words of if you may, if you have, while they're doing their evaluation. We can entertain some questions, no? Habang nag-i-evaluate pa sila. Kasi baka marami pa sila mga questions or things that they would like to say. No?
Oo nga. Sige, magtingin-tingin tayo sa mga comments.
Baka kailangan sample ni Sir Jambi. Sir Jambi, nakita mo yung mga comments kanina, no?
Kasi kailangan makinig daw sa feedback. Sabi, kailangan makinig sa feed.
Sir Jambi, alam mo yung pinakamagandang comment doon.
Ano yun?
Next na raw si Sir Franco. So, kailangan ko na mag-prepare.
Parang hindi ko nakita ata yung comment na. Yun yung
Dapat
pinakamagandang comment, yung no!
natin gagawin yan ano, mga ka-KTS, iwasan po natin yun at, baka po masira ang ating,
Ay,
ah,
pero
session.
sa ating
Maraming
mga
salamat.
kaagapay, hindi po ninyo natatanong. Well, palagi namin binibiro si Sir Franco tungkol sa pagkanta, but you should see him dance. Ayan, yun ang talent
Sabi ko
ni Sir
sasayaw na lang
Franco.
ako. Anyway, Sir Jamie, sabi ko sa mga ka-KTS natin, it's a show of love, no? Yung, that's what KTS is, no? We try to explore all means possible, no, to show our appreciation to our teachers. Sabi ko nga sa mga teachers natin, sasayaw kami, kakanta kami, tatumbling kami, at kung ano-ano pang kailangan naming gawin just to show you, no, how we appreciate you teachers. Kaya maraming salamat po sa lahat ng hard work nyo so far, and congratulations po, no, sa mga public school teachers natin and those who started last October. Naka 2 weeks na po ang
Wow.
tama ba 2 weeks na, no?
Oh, ang alam ko rin, 2 weeks
Yes,
na eh.
almost 2 weeks na, yes. Congratulations sa 2 weeks na successful deployment ng distance learning. So Sir Jam, alam na tayo, no, habang nagtitake ng evaluate. Maraming salamat po ulit. Have a nice afternoon. Have a nice
So,
lunch. Okay?